Shalom. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakal Kodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders, the great millstone, peace and safety to the Akim out there pushing the word and truth and sincerity. All right, so got a quick lesson on this article from WTOC. I believe this is a news station or a newspaper. And this article is from January 7th, 2026. And the title alone says enough. You know, and I'm going to do a little bit of commentary on it, as well as I'm going to read a little bit of the article. I had a couple precepts in mind. Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, comes immediately to mind, around like the 20th verse, where it speaks about that inflammation or burning, which I'm not going to get it. You know, I've done lessons on it before. Also, Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, and around, I'd say the 60th verse, maybe, where it talks about the curses or these plagues, being used for judgment that are not even written of in the scriptures. You know, newly found diseases, hashtag the C19 or the HIV or whatever, whatever new variant disease or cold or virus or flu, whatever, the Lord said that these judgments were going to be upon us. We're living in the times of being afflicted by these diseases. The Lord said he saw up to be the one to. Matter of fact, you can go back to Isaiah. I think it's like Isaiah 40 something, or Isaiah 54, where it speaks about the smith that bloweth the coal. The Lord put Esau up to these, ultimately to come up with these missiles that are going to be dropped on Babylon. But also, Esau's also in the lab cooking up these diseases, because he is the devil that the scriptures speak of. And this is just another example, this article of, another strand of who knows what and what it could lead to. We saw what the C19 did with the lockdowns and the jump shots. All right, there's no telling what this new thing could do. All right, but also too, I've seen nurses online, doing videos that, telling people to put the mask back on. And this really has been a sickness going around. I've noticed, even with myself, but I'm taking a couple of herbs and certain daily tinctures for myself, and I haven't felt the effects of what a lot of people are going through right now. And I've noticed as well. I don't work for the hospital, but I work near the hospital, contracting, and I've noticed a lot of people hitting the emergency room lately. A lot of people people I work with say that the ER has been busy. But anyways, not to give up too much information about my personal business, but nonetheless, it says Georgia faces a surge in flu cases. Health officials urge J shots. Slack you. Which we're not going to get any. We're going to fight it through natural herbs or whatever and just keep ourselves healthy. But this is the article. It says, this is from Savannah, Georgia. Across Georgia, flu cases are climbing sharply, and public health officials say the state is preparing for what could be a severe season. Symptoms don't seem to be more severe at this point yet, but the flu this year is super contagious, said Ginger Heidel, public information officer for the Coastal Health District. She added that new variant appears to be circulating and that many people lack natural immunity to it, because this is a disease that's not supposed to be here. It is, but it ain't. It's a man-made disease. All right, which Esau probably took the original, flu virus and probably mutated it, doing his fucking experiments and shit. Of course we're not immune to, we don't have natural immunity to this type of shit, because it's man-made biological warfare, man. Basically, at this point, I might get a strike on this video for this, but fuck it, it is what it is. All right. which, we have been given natural herbs and, things of the earth to heal ourselves, But these devils, they make it a point to totally contaminate and poison the body. He makes it a point, his business, to go overboard. And he also outlaws certain not necessarily outlaw, but they frown upon certain natural remedies. It said, but who knows? This thing could get worse. It could just go away. But it's another year, 2026. Things are vamping up in the spirit. Paying attention to once again what's happening in Venezuela with the oil money. Trump. He said something last night or yesterday. I can't remember. But also the thing that happened in Minnesota, right? The lady got killed. I don't know the exact details. I haven't gone through it, but I know it's big in the news right now. In Philadelphia, I know they had I want to say a gathering. Someone said it was like a vigil for the lady that died. But I also saw a video of the Philadelphia district attorney speaking to ICE, basically telling them to get the fuck out of their city if they're going to commit crimes, and that they're gonna release their own National Guard, Philadelphia's own National Guard, to I don't want to say go up against the ICE agents, but to, I guess, police them so that they don't break the law, or violate anybody else's constitutional rights, And hey, man, it could get ugly. These are just the beginning stages. It could set off a chain of reactions. We don't know. All right, but that's the second city to stand up to ICE and the federal government, man. Well, of course, we know Florida and Texas have always, been that way. But as far as of this incident with the lady that was killed, and this is the second state to, basically stand on business, so to speak. All right. So we're just living into some interesting times, man. And prophecy is moving, man. We're just that much closer to the Lord coming back. That's why we gotta continue to do these videos. We gotta continue to go out on Saturday. His brothers is gonna hit the streets tomorrow, if the weather permits. But things are happening. Things are moving. There was something else that happened as well. Something I just can't remember off the top of my head. Something with the United States. It's probably in the group chat, but yeah, man. The spirit is moving, man. This digital currency, this digital ID. We'll see. We'll see what the next move is for these devils, man. We just have to watch and pray and pay attention. Even when you're out and about, be wise as a serpent, man. Be wise. Check your corners. Just be aware of your surroundings. You never know, man. People are so full of fear and stupidity that anything can happen. And that's a dangerous combination, fear and stupidity. That's why brothers are going to operate in wisdom and in spirit. Wisdom, knowledge, and knowledge will be the stability of thy times, man. Like the scriptures say, that's what brothers is going to be leaning on in these times of trouble, man. While these people are leaning on their stupidity and their fear, that's ultimately going to get them destroyed. If they're not part of the elect, they're going to eat a missile. That's why we got to stay prayed up, man, asking for the Lord for mercy, wisdom, and understanding. Increase in knowledge and faith. Those are the only things we can rely on, man, and hope. hoping to be part of the Lord's elect. I was going to read a little more to this article, but if you want to go into it, it says it's a combination of low V rates and people coming together in congregate settings, which leads to spread of the rise of the flu activity right now. It's kind of the same narrative with the whole C-19, where they don't want people gathering. But man, yeah, you can read it on your own. They said I saw another article said this flu could reach the highest cases it's ever had. But yeah, that's it. That's the point of the lesson. Hopefully this was edifying. A few topics, couple precepts I had. Just quoting some precepts. Hopefully this was edifying. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, great millstone, peace and safety to the Akim out there pushing the word of truth and sincerity. Shalom.